Hello, and welcome to today's roundtable discussion with Lakefield College School. My name is Dave Darby, and I'm the Assistant Head Enrollment Management. Thank you so much for taking the time for joining us today, viewing this recording to learn more about LCS. I'm very excited to be joined by a recent graduate and some current parents as well. Just before we hear from them and hear about their perspectives about the school, I'm going to provide maybe a 2-minute overview of Lakefield College School. So at LCS, we're driven to prepare students with a mindset that places community first, who develop the confidence and the skills required not only to lead happy and fulfilling lives, but to care for and give back to the communities that they're a part of. So community, what does that mean and how is it built at Lakefield? There are student leadership opportunities at every grade level, and they really elevate the student voice to help develop the commitment that's required to contribute to positive change. And that really creates the hallmark for a healthy, caring community at the school. We've got a pretty unique house model that brings together day students and boarding students in order to strengthen the community ties of the students and provide them with an experience to make meaningful connections beyond their academic and co-curricular activities. We're also pretty proud of the fact that we have some of the smallest boarding houses in Canada with an average of 22 students living in each house. There's 2 live-in families, or think of them as parents away from home that are providing individual care. And demand at the school has been so high that we're incredibly excited to be opening 2 new residences in September 2022. And we also firmly believe that students' learning experience is strengthened by the diversity of perspectives that are brought together by our global community. We have students joining us from 46 sending countries this year. And we know that the stronger the relationships are within the community, the richer the learning experiences are going to be for everyone involved. And so community, along with providing authentic learning opportunities that are grounded in acquiring those transferable skills that are so necessary and grounded in real world learning opportunities so that they can connect with those around them in an environment that embraces the outdoors. So that's it in a 2-minute nutshell, but enough of me. I know we're here to hear from the perspectives of our graduates and our parents. So with that, let's learn more about our panel. And I'm gonna start, Jimena, if you can just introduce yourself and comment on your connection to the school and where you are calling in from.
Okay, hi, my name is Jimena and I'm from Mexico. So therefore I was a boarder at Lakefield. I graduated last year, so 2020, so not too long ago. And I would like to share that I've always been super excited about sharing my experiences. I love giving tours back at school, so much that in my last year I was the student in charge of admissions. So I'm really excited to share a little bit of my experience with all of you today.
Amazing, thank you, Jimena. I'll look to you next, Michael Peach.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Peach, and I'm the proud father of 2 sons who attend Lakefield College School. Our eldest is a grad this year who will be graduating in 2022, and our middle son's graduating in 2024, and we're looking forward to our 3rd son joining the other boys and graduating in 2026. Right now I'm calling from just north of the St. Lawrence in Ontario, but I'm an expat who live and work overseas in Saudi Arabia.
Amazing how time flies. Thanks, Michael. And last but certainly not least, the Cantillons.
Yes, I'm Lisa Cantillon, and this is my husband, Sean. And we have 2 children at the school. Max is in grade 9 and going into grade 10, and Olivia going into her grade 12 graduating year as well. And we are day parents, and we live right down the street from the school in Lakefield.
So it's amazing. We have a variety of perspectives here, which is great. And we're going to kick this off with some formal questioning. And we're going to start with you, Jimena. I'm hoping you can share what did you appreciate most about the school during your time? And how has that perspective changed now that you've had some distance from the school?
Wow. So definitely the thing that I appreciated the most is the people and the connections that I created at school. Now that I'm this in school, it's something that has definitely been something that I've noticed, because now at university I'm like a student, and at Lakefield first I felt I was part of a family. So it's not, before going to Lakefield I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a great experience, I'm gonna meet people, I'm gonna have friends, I'm gonna have teachers, professors. But after going to Lakefield, it's not just the teacher, it's not just your roommate, it's not just your housemate, it's the people that you see every day. And because it's such a small school, you know everyone, everyone knows you. So I feel like definitely the connections. I felt that it's really it's really like the opportunity you get to create these connections, right? Because it's not just, okay, not just because I live with 22 girls, it's because they're going to be my friends. No, like you actually have this all of these opportunities to have these connections with them. So definitely the people and all my connections and relations I created at the school.
Amazing. The biggest challenge for me today is not to just keep asking question after question, because I want to keep the conversation going, but I know we have a lot of ground to cover. So thank you for that, Jimena. I think what we'll do is probably go Jimena and then Michael and then the Cantillons. So Michael, we'll look to you next. Can you explain why you chose the school originally? And then as a part two to that, in what ways was the school what you expected? And what ways was it not?
Okay, perfect. One of the big things as an expat living overseas and having kids find a school that's a good fit for them was that we were looking for a school that is a boarding school specific, as opposed to a day school that includes some boarding. So Lakefield quickly popped up on our horizon. We're also drawn to schools that tend to look at the whole child as a balance, both academic, social, emotional, and academic. And Lakefield had that when we were looking at schools. Because as a parent, we're on the other side of the world, we also wanted to find a spot where the kids felt at home, where they felt comfortable, where they felt like they belonged. And in touring Lakefield, both boys felt that they could see themselves there. That wasn't the case in all the schools that we took a tour of. So that was a very big priority for us. As kids who spend their summers in Canada, we wanted them to have a very Canadian type experience. We love the cottage, we love the outdoors. Our kids love hockey, and being able to continue to explore that part of their interest was important to us. They also are active with music and other sports, and having that opportunity where the kids can continue to develop that side of their interest, but also explore some new ones that they've not had before was a big priority for us as a family. But I think probably the biggest piece that shaped us is we were looking for a school where our kids could become the best version of their future selves when we were trying to find the school. And I think that the people we met, the facilities that are available to them, and the culture that that Lakefield has really is helping our kids accomplish that goal.
Amazing. Was there anything a way that the school wasn't what you expected?
No. Everything that we have expected from the school has hit that target and surpassed it, especially given this past 18 months and how they've approached those challenges. As a parent who, like I've said, is across the world, who is depending on an institution to take care of their kids' health and well-being on top of their education, we couldn't have asked for our boys to be in a better spot than Lakefield over the past 18 months. So in that context, Lakefield has hit the target every single time. But I think that's in part because we made a choice. We knew what our values were and picked a school that was a right fit for our kids. And I think Lakefield is that school.
Yeah, and that's so important, that fit piece. And hopefully that comes out for everyone that's watching today. Just, I mean, getting a true sense through your eyes what the school is about and whether or not they can see themselves as part of it. And I love the fact that we're going from boarding perspectives with you and Jimena to some day families. And Cantons, I'll repeat the question. Why did you choose the school originally? And in what ways was the school what you expected and then perhaps not?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
to piggyback on Michael, it definitely is the whole person approach, mind, body, spirit, academic. Our kids came from Montessori, and we thought we'd give them the Montessori experience till grade 8, and then they could go off into the mainstream. And then we got involved. We got involved with the community and started to go, hey, maybe we'll look into this. We went to the campus, and you step onto the campus and you're just blown away by the expansiveness of the beauty. And then, to be honest, it's the students. They sold it. Their enthusiasm, their love, as Jimena said, for their community, for their people, the staff. It's like getting a big, huge hug when you come on, and the sense of all the opportunities that your children can have. Pretty amazing. So,
Yeah, if I can add to that, and veining off of what Michael was saying, you know, from our values as a family, you know, LCS just felt like a natural extension of our family. The values were shared. That warmth that Lisa talks about, it just felt great. I mean, we had thought about sending our kids to the mainstream system, and then it just became so evident that was, for us as a family, you know, the wrong decision. And after completing our due diligence on LCS and connecting with the faculty, the staff, the students, it just became so clear that LCS was the best choice for our two kids based on our family values. And it's exactly what we expected, you know. So, and frankly, and as Michael had said, it's exceeded our expectations. So when I think of aspects around the whole person approach, right? And so I think of things like attitude, leadership attributes, you know, the confidence, the sense of independence and curiosity around life. These are all important qualities that the school embraces, and is really, we've seen the value of this happen. You know, our daughter's going into grade 12, so she's had a few years. Max has had a single year. And it's an inclusive environment that allows our kids to thrive and be their best self. And so that's absolutely blown us away and exceeded our expectations. The last part, when you said, is there anything that, I think if you worded it, is there something that didn't, you know, meet our expectation? You know, I would say no, you know, flat out. I think the one thing that I think is a positive that I wasn't expecting was actually just how all in the staff are with the students, right? So, and that's not a negative. I mean, that is a massive positive. They go, you know, over and beyond being able to help get to connect with each, you know, person at the individual level, help them with their specific, you know, needs or challenges. And for us, it goes back to the love and warmth that the school brings. It's truly a fantastic way to exceed expectations. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's great. Sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
I had a quick touch base. And also this year, the amount of transparency, communication, and the ability to share with the feedback, it really, it isn't something I expected. And wow, I was blown away. So
yeah.
That's awesome. I think, Jimena, I don't know if you remember when I joined the school, but it's so great to hear you say that, because I've been at the school, I think, Michael, Lisa and Sean, you know, for 2.5 years. And as a staff member, it's a big thing to join a school, right? And everything you're saying is what attracted me as a staff member and what kind of gets me excited about my girls joining when they're old enough. So that's awesome. Okay, Jimena, tricky question, really, because you were at LCS, but what, to the best of your knowledge, knowing there's fantastic schools, but what, to the best of your knowledge, most differentiates Lakefield from other schools that you know?
Okay, so I feel that something that really, really differentiates is all the opportunities you get and how much the school cares about you as a person, but not just your academic activities. So when I went to Lakefield, I was okay, I'm gonna improve my English, I'm gonna learn new things, I'm gonna try math in English, like all of that experience, right? That I was really afraid of. But when I got to Lakefield, they're like, okay, we really care about your academics, but we really care of your passions, your extracurricular activities, your so they give the same importance to your extracurricular activities and your passions. That is something I was really impressed with. Big passion of dance. And I can say that Lakefield gave me so many opportunities. I went to competitions. I had the opportunity to be dance captain. I was actually had the opportunity of giving dance classes to all the campus kids. So like all of those different activities that, wow, like how is the school really cares about my passions, also that from my academics. Um, Also like because it has a lot of opportunities, I love that. If it was for me, I would have danced all year, but I really like that they were like, no, you can only dance during winter. So I really like that because they challenged me, and I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? So I never would have thought I would have sing. Ended up in the musical. I started doing horseback riding, so things that you never expected, and how the school challenges you but motivates you to do things outside your academic. It's really great, and how they give you time for that, and they really care about your school like academic like part. So it's a really great balance, and it's something that I can say it's the thing that I feel that Lakefield has that probably not all of the school have, yeah. And also there are a lot of schools that can give you those opportunities, but I don't think they have a lake right in front of the school, right? So like they give you the opportunities, but they also have amazing things like the theater. Like that's my favorite place in the school, like the lake, the huge fields. Like for me, I'm in love with the school. What can I say?
I don't know if you saw it, Jimena, but did you see the dance showcase with the stage this year set up in front of the lake?
Yeah, I saw it. Of course, I saw it.
Yeah, it was, yeah, super cool. But well, thank you for sharing. We're going to switch gears a little bit on this next question, Michael. Having two children at the school, um, two boys, what would you say has been the biggest impact the school has had on them so far?
High school can be so hard when I think back of what it means to grow up. And I've seen some really positive impacts that both boys have experienced in part because of Lakefield and the experiences they've had there. One is resiliency. They are becoming more and more adept at overcoming obstacles and challenges and turning those into successes, whether it's a personal one or an academic one or a social one. The school is helping guide them through that process like a parent would. And being so far away as an expat dad, that's really important to me. Um, I think because of that, I've also seen both boys' confidence continue to grow. They're more confident in trying new things and exploring new opportunities, but also confident in terms of standing up for their values and what they believe in and kind of speaking their truth when they see something that doesn't sit right for them. And I'm pretty proud of them for doing that, especially when it's for people that maybe don't have the same voice that the boys have. But I think ultimately the biggest impact that I'm seeing is their understanding of themselves, who they are, what their values are, understanding what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and then how to take that and use that to turn it into an opportunity to grow and move forward in their learning. That's the impact that I'm seeing, and that's across all aspects of their education, their academics, their social, their emotional, and their physical, whether it's playing hockey or being a part of the band or taking an AP class. I see that time and time again in both boys now that they're at Lakefield.
And it's so key. I mean, what you're mentioning, one, it's awesome to hear about the growth, and two, just taking advantage of the opportunities that exist, which is kind of a theme that's coming out as well, and jumping in with both feet, and challenging themselves, which is huge. So Cantillon, same question. Maybe we should mix it up, because give you an opportunity to answer one of the questions before Michael. But anything that you wanted to add in terms of the impact that the school has had on either of your children?
Yeah, you want to go? Oh, perfect. I would say the confidence to take risks. So, as Michael is talking about, high school is a complex experience, for students. It's, I think, just emotionally complex, and just trying to find that inner confidence and belief in yourself. And the school provides this amazing, inclusive environment, as I talked about, for them to thrive. And so what I've noticed specifically with our daughter and our son is this ability to, there's this growth. I mean, I just see year over year. For Max, it's in the last year. For our daughter, it's the last few years. So there's a little more depth in terms of the growth curve I've seen in our daughter, with this essence of confidence and independence in herself and her abilities to take risk. And those risks are demonstrated by trying new things, being bold, not being worried about what other people think, getting on an airplane to go and live in South Africa for 3 months for an exchange program, going to India. Like, she's become very vocal and active with this sense of confidence and independence. And then we attribute that to the school and the environment the school creates. And for our son, this all-in support that the teachers exude, that's something that our son needed, right? And he's a young man trying to figure out who he is. And so having that framework or that foundation of support where he can feel confident that people got his back, right? There's trust, there's a sense of, love and support, so that he's okay, right? No matter who he goes to, there's no concern for him to just be himself. So this aspect, I think it really comes back to, is this impact. I guess it really comes down to this aspect of confidence and independence. Did you add to that?
No, sounds perfect.
It's fun to see around campus and in the halls too. I'm in the fortunate position where I get to meet a number of the students that are coming in, and I need to remember that they're not that grade 7 or 8 that I met many years ago. But it's so cool to see that growth over time too, not as a parent. So yeah, it's just fun. So thanks for sharing that. Jimena, I'm going to come back to you. This is kind of a fun question. If the school were to be represented as a single person, what would its personality be like? And here's the tricky part: only in 3 words. And then why? Why would you use those 3 words?
Okay. So, and again, fearless. So definitely the school challenges you, but in a way that makes you gain an experience that you will never forget. So for example, one of my biggest fears was speaking in front of a lot of people, and I can say now it's one of the things I love to do the most. So I remember since I started school in grade 10, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do my chapel speech? Like in front of everyone, like no way. And I did it. I'm very glad I had the opportunity to be one of the first people in my grade to do it. Because of the pandemic, most of my grade couldn't do it. So I remember that day I was like, am I doing this? Like I was like, am I dreaming? Like, how am I doing this? But now it's something that I do not regret at all. And I loved how the school was like, well, you have the chance of doing it or not, but that's the experience. That's what you're gonna get. So I really like that. Also how, as I already mentioned, like they didn't let me do what I felt comfortable doing all year. So I needed to look something else, and I ended up finding new passions like horseback riding, something I really love right now. So definitely fearless. I would also say passionate. I love how I was able to share my passions with my professors. I want to mention Miss Bemrose. Her passion for dance is like, wow, it's huge. And the fact that it was something like teaching me with that passion, as much as I love dance, it was great. And how I had the opportunity to give it to little kids, it's all combined, and how all the passion and the motivation to do everything, definitely that. And I don't know if this word is actually like for personality, but I want to say home. um Before going to Lakefield, I was okay, like I'm gonna miss home. I did for a few months. After that, I was like, okay, I miss my mom, but I have my family here. And I want to describe Lakefield as, one of those friends that you don't see them for too long. And when you see them, it's like you were never apart from them, and you talk to them as you saw them yesterday. So I feel that Lakefield is kind of that type of person that you probably don't like. Now that I'm in university, I'm not really in touch with anyone at the school right now, because like I'm trying to make new friends, or probably with my teachers, I don't really talk to them. But once I talk to them, I talked to Jen Horrigan yesterday, one of my dons, and I was like, hi Jen, I feel that homey feeling that I wasn't talking to my school, I was talking to my family where I lived for 3 years. So definitely fearless, home, and passionate.
And I mean, I really like the fact that on the one hand, you're being pushed out of your comfort zone, but on the other hand, it's a place of comfort that allows you to do that. So that's neat. Thanks for sharing. We're going to switch up the order just a little bit, Cantillons, to give you a chance to maybe answer that same question first before Michael provides a response. But same question that Jimena had. If the school to be represented as a single person, what would its personality be like in 3 words? And then why you feel that way.
Yeah, I think curious. I think it allows the kids to get curious about themselves on all components, like academically, co-curriculars, every part, and curious because the teachers are curious about them, wanting to know them better, getting connected with them on that level. And again, I see it as the school with the parents. You're curious about what we think, how it affects us, and I'm sure that must be the same for Michael being abroad, but we certainly feel that. So definitely curious.
Collaborative, for sure. Collaborative in this promotion of an open conversation. Again, I think the collaboration, as you talked about, between the school and the parents, it's very open and transparent and very collaborative, but also between the student and the teachers. It's like I said, there's this bond of trust. It's like an essence of family, and also, this embracing of and fostering of collaboration amongst your peers. And it's not just, intergrade, it's multi-dimensional in grades up and grades down, which is really nice to see, whether you're in grade 9 interacting with grade 12s or vice versa, right? So there's a real fostering of open communication and collaboration. I was thinking innovative, and innovation is right. It's another one that we really thought of. I think as LCS is a very innovative school. And I think the pandemic was a testament to how the school was able to pivot in short order and deliver an exceptional experience, considering the massive headwind that the pandemic created as a student experience, as a faculty experience, and then, just the overall complexity, right, that the pandemic created as an environment to be able to go to school overall. And so the school, we thought was just incredibly innovative on how they were able to pivot, leverage technology, but also still, leverage the sense of community, whether it's online or for folks living on campus, right? And again, continue to foster this collaboration and still, hey, be curious about yourself, be curious about school. It wasn't easy. So we would say, curious, collaborative, and innovative.
And to your last point, I mean, as a staff member, it was pretty cool to be part of it. I mean, no one wishes a pandemic on anyone anytime. But the world's been faced with such challenges, and to be part of a school community that was looking for opportunities to continue to connect, to continue to provide meaningful experiences despite those challenges it was just neat to be a part of. So I'm glad that you felt that too. And then Michael, same question, the 3 words and why, if you were to describe the school.
When I first thought of it, I wanted to see Anne Marie Key, but I was told I couldn't give that answer. So I think authentic comes to mind immediately. Lakefield does a really good job of communicating its values and then living it, and through its actions and through its words. I think we've heard how the school pivoted in response to the pandemic, but still kept true to its core beliefs and what it was trying to do. And in every interaction, I can say I've always felt has been very authentic with the school, from the kids interacting with each other and how they work together and how they study or work as a team, to living in the dorm and the Matthews House people who take care of my 2 boys. It's always been very authentic and living the values that the school promotes. And I think that's pretty hard to do. My wife and I are both in education, so we kind of have a little bit of that professional insight into how hard it is. And I think for that reason, Lakefield's also an inspiration. It's inspirational to see what they're doing, to see the innovation that they're trying to do, the approach that they're trying to use in developing our kids, in preparing them not just for today, but for an unknown future, so that they can succeed in their own individual ways. We've talked and both said, professionally, it's the type of place we would love to work. And we're very fortunate that our boys can have that learning experience in their daily life. So I think inspiration is a big one. And I know we've taken lessons from the school and shared it with other international schools in response to the pandemic, and how you handle your core values and promoting that and staying true to your beliefs. But ultimately, I think the word that comes to mind is kind. I think schools should be kind. And the kids that go to school at Lakefield are kind. They're kind to each other. They're kind to the people who support them in their building. The people that take care of them in the dorms are kind. Their teachers are kind. Time and time again, through every interaction with every teacher or every student that I've met. And like when Lisa and Jimena talk about being on campus, you do get a sense of that kindness when you walk in to Lakefield. So kind, authentic, and inspirational are kind of the 3 words that came to mind.
Well, thanks for everyone for sharing. And Michael, I heard you use the word value a few times, and values. And as a staff member, it's comforting to know when schools have to make difficult decisions, those values are used to help guide the decision making. You know, how does this fit with who we are as a school and what we value? That you have that to look towards, so that you can have confidence moving forward is just comforting. Coming back to that word, you can be strategic and know that you have the best interests of the community at heart is nice. Okay, this is kind of the dreaded question, Jimena, that you don't want to have to answer in an interview, whether it's a job interview or you're applying for an independent school, and it's kind of that like, what could you improve question, but it's what one thing would you change about the school for the better if you had to suggest something?
Okay, so back at school, I would have said nothing. Now that I'm distanced from the school, you see it from a different perspective. So something that came right away to my mind is, so I felt that back at school at Lakefield, I had all the help I needed, everything. So if I needed to talk to someone, there was someone there. If I need to take a med, the health center will literally call me and be like, come to the health center, you need to take your med. If I didn't write my homework, Etsy was there. I could just pop into Etsy and find my homework. It was something that I loved back at school, something that I was like, wow, I love this place. But now that I'm in university, I struggle a little because there was no health center calling me. There was no don't tell me where are you? You need to study. It's study time or open house. I have my own schedule and I need to adjust to this like big change. So probably for at least for grade 12s, give them a little bit of that independence in the academic way. So like probably, yeah, you can have ETSB, but no more reminders of when are your work due, or no more we're going to call you to take your med because you're a grade 12 and you need to get ready for the future, what university has for you. So it's something that I really appreciated and something that I love like a school. But now that I'm in university, it's something that for at least for grade 12s, I think I would change and give them a little bit more, I don't want to say freedom, but a little bit more of independence in that kind of way.
That's such an incredibly valuable insight. Thank you for sharing that. And now, both with Michael, Sean, and Lisa, we're going to ask you to channel your kids and get inside their mind, and maybe even share what they have to say about the school. So when you're talking to them, or even just things you hear them saying, like if you were to try to find their words for how they describe their experience at LCS. And maybe, sorry, I should direct that. We'll stick Cantillons with you, and then maybe we'll change up the order again.
Well, I think Olivia would say what you put in is what you get out. And she loves her global community. She's got friends now all over the world. She's danced. She went into grade 9, and as Jimena said, you can't just pick what you like. So she couldn't just dance or be in theater. She had to step out of the box, which she, in her own words, would say super empowering, because she got to sail. The first year they had a sailing team. Never sailed in her life. And bam, she was like going to the States on a sailing regatta, you know? So just the empowerment to try new things. Again, she's in grade 9, and at the beginning of grade 10, before the pandemic, she'd be at school at 8 in the morning, and she can walk. She'd be home when they kicked her off by 10. So she was basically a boarder and she would love to be. But just, again, it's Michael hit the nail on the head with the kindness and support with that piece. So she absolutely loves it.
And then for Max, our son, whose first year in high school was in the pandemic. So it was through this innovative
with a mask
and the student experience, right? So, Max would say the support and the connection, I've said this, but the support and connection with the teachers is something that he speaks of and that he just loves, right? And it was very warm and embracing for him to go into a really awkward, for any child really, to go through this pandemic last year. But if it's your first year in high school, it's not the experience you would wish upon anybody. And LCS made it kind, right? They made it warm. And then these other aspects of co-curriculars and these spirit events, the school did a great job at still persevering through this pandemic to provide the best experience they possibly could, all considering. So
he came home from, I think it was Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
He came home. He's like, that was the best time of my life.
Yeah.
So those are spirit events, to what Jimena said, it's these opportunities to connect. And not only with your grade 9s, but with everybody. Yeah. And that was really meaningful to him as well.
That's great. Jimena, I saw you smile. I think you might have been at the school for the first ever Friday Night Lights.
Oh, really?
I think so. I think this was the 3rd year, I think.
Probably 4th, because 4th? I think I had Friday Night Lights in grade 10.
Did you? Okay.
So probably it's the 4th one and I was in the 1st one. Yeah.
A memorable experience?
Definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I want to stick to that though. Michael, what do you think your boys would say if you hear them chatting about school? Or
And listening to everyone's comments, what the boys shared with me is that connection. In listening to their stories, both boys, Sam, who's going into grade 12, can distinctly remember when he felt at home at Lakefield, and can talk about the two particular events. One was really early on in the fall. It was a paddle with a group of Matthews House boys from somewhere in Peterborough to the school as part of a big contingent through the locks. And he was just beaming and felt at home. And that was early on, maybe 3 weeks into moving away from mom and dad. And that was the first time. And at the end of his 9th grade year, there was a Gladiator Day where he just beamed about that was the best day ever. And he had to write an essay for an SIC or something this year. And he talked about that was really the moment where he felt included, that he felt belonged, that he was home. And Will shared the same story. Will came late to Lakefield because of travel restrictions. So he came in October and talked about walking into Matthew's house and feeling like he was just welcomed by everyone, not just the 9th graders, but the seniors that were looking after the kids, and the 11th graders and the 10th graders, and the sense of community that it had. And it was after Christmas, and he was spending his time on the shinny rink, that he was like, I love it here. I'm at home doing what I love to do. With some pretty amazing people, and talked about how some of the senior boys were teaching him some new moves to protect the puck. And as a small hockey player, that was something he found really important. And I loved hearing that story, that's the experience he's getting to have.
that's amazing. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, Michael, but it'll be 3 years in December. That is when I joined the school. And I knew you before joining LCS. We had met in Saudi Arabia. And I have to say, that very first night, I think after my very first day, I ran into you and Sam at a restaurant. And that helped me find my feet. Just having that, a lot of times it's having a person. And yeah, it was a small world moment, and very cool. So thank you for sharing. Jimena,
Yes.
what do you think families would find the most surprising about the school? Like,
Okay.
really?
If I speak from my family, definitely how the school changed me to be like the best version of myself. I don't know if you know this, you probably know this, but I applied to Lakefield to just be my 1 year experience. And my mom was like, there's no way for you to stay more than 1 year. Like, I'm an only child. So you can imagine. And I'm a girl, so she was like, no way, you stay away from home. And she saw me so happy that when I asked to stay all high school, she was like, yes, I saw you so happy. I saw you that you changed, you grew. Before going to Lakeville, I never like traveled by myself. And now it's something I do all the time. I'm like, hey, I'm going to Canada, see you in a few weeks, love you. And she's like, wow, you're so independent, how much you grew as a person. So definitely that's the thing that surprised my mom the most, and how much I grew. Also, the relationships, as everybody said here. Um, my mom was like, I'm so impressed how you call me. And it's so normal to say, oh yeah, I'm studying here in front of the lake with my best friend from Lebanon. And she's like, wow, like that's crazy, because here in Mexico, I'm in school with all Mexicans. And I know it's something like, for me, super normal to be with people from all around the world. And I called my mom and be like, oh yeah, I'm here studying on the lake, or I just went this morning to paddle and see the sunrise, or I'm part of school life where you create all the school events, and how much you grew as a person, because back in Mexico I would be like probably involved at school, but not that much. But I feel that the school gave me so much that gave you all that passion to give it back, right? So giving it back to school, how much I was involved, and just my mom just saw me so happy that definitely I feel that she was really impressed. And I was really impressed with her letting me stay. And that that how much I grew and how happy I was. So you never know how much your children can grow and benefit from the school.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear. It's stories like that that I think make a lot of parents feel like they wish they could do high school over. And I mentioned, as a parent with 2 girls, I just can't wait until they have that.
Not only parents, I will do it again.
There you go. Very cool. Okay, we've talked a little bit about values. It's been touched on a number of times, but I'm wondering, maybe Michael, we'll go back to you to start this one. If you were to describe the values, and maybe beyond that, the values of the families that you've interacted with that are members of the community, if you can comment on that.
Sure. One of the things when we were looking at boarding school was understanding how schools handle missteps that kids make growing up. And is it punitive? Or do they focus on a learning experience? Because part of growing up, I think, is making mistakes and then learning from those mistakes. Whether it's a poor choice with friends or a poor choice around academics or choosing not to do something. Those are the values that we were looking for in how a school goes about approaching that. And I think Lakefield has done exactly what we had wanted our kids to do, is that when they have had a misstep, unfortunately, they've all been very minor, or when they've needed someone to give them a little extra push out of their comfort zone, someone's been there to do that and help them along the way. Lakefield kind of hit that mark for us all around. Our boys have grown up spending summers in Canada on an island cottage. So canoeing, swimming, fishing, outdoors, as much as they're Canadian by citizenship and they've grown up in Thailand and Saudi Arabia, they love Canadian things like skiing and hockey and canoeing and sailing and boating. And Lakefield's values of outdoors every day is something that they have embraced and they've loved. They've stayed with the outdoor ed program all the way along through all their years at LCS. And just this morning, driving Sam in on the boat, he was talking about looking forward to the Algonquin trip that's coming in the fall, because that's a highlight for the grads. And he can't wait for it and was wondering, will it be rainy? How cold will it be? He was just excited about it. And I see those values time in and time out with Sam's experiences and Will's.
That's great. Thanks for sharing, Michael. And then same question, Cantillon. Would it help if I repeated it?
Got it?
Yeah, just you got it. Yeah, schools values. Yeah, values of the community.
Of a safe, inclusive environment is really connected with us. We had the opportunity, because we're right beside the school, we were asked to host an evening with parents when they were dropping off kids. It was, I think, grade 9 and 10. And in that experience for us, we got to meet so many people, and in a vulnerable time, right? Like they've just dropped their kids off and they're saying goodbye. And for us, we're like, if they could come to our home. We had people come here for Thanksgiving one year. And we want to create a safe, inclusive environment in our own home for students, for friends. And that was a real highlight for me, to meet all these people and just have these conversations about what's important to them. So understanding their values even, and why they chose LCS. So that was something that was really special. That safe environment that the school does share. The outdoors every day. We live, as I say, down the street. We get to sit on our dock and watch the kids sail. So in the pandemic, it wasn't so great when the kids watched all the boarders. We had to, But at the same token, it's this opportunity that they love, and that it's equal, right? So they get to be there on campus, they get to come home and have the same experiences. It's important as a family for us.
Yeah, and I would just add the value that's shared between, I think, the school and the families that we've met.
Yeah.
It's adventure, a deep sense or a strong sense of adventure. For one, the school provides this great environment with all these adventurous trips. I mean, all these adventurous opportunities on the campus and off the campus. It's a Canadian adventure, right? And the parents that we've met, whether they're sending their kids, like yourself, Michael, whether you've been aboard, sending your kids to board, you have to be an adventurous person, I think, to want to provide that adventure for your child to send them away. So I think there's a deep sense of adventure within the parent group, but also because they want to see their kids be able to take advantage of, adventure in life that's going to help shape, who they're going to grow and become. So the school provides the adventure, and I think the families really cherish that sense of adventure. That's something we've noticed with interacting with different families, local families that are here, like Canadian families, but also international families that send their children to the school.
Amazing. Yeah. And this is such a valuable, and I hope people watching this recording find this a valuable conversation, because you're painting such a picture of the school. And it's so important to know, Jimena talked about the importance of academics, but it being beyond that, and about being outdoors and caring for, engaging with, and playing in the outdoors. And that sense of genuine community and learning from one another and hearing different perspectives that you may not be exposed to in your home country. As you mentioned, Jimena, you're not going to school in Mexican with a number of other Mexican students, but people from around the world. So thank you for painting that picture. We have time for 2 more questions that I think will also help. And Jimena, I'm wondering if you were to provide any advice to new students, and we have a number joining us in September, what would you say to them?
Okay, so I've given this advice so many times because I always, like, since grade 10, I've seen new people, and I always see that at the beginning, it's okay, especially for boarders. It's like, okay, I miss home, and like, oh no, back at home, I do hockey. So do you have a hockey team? Or, oh, back at home, I used to dance. Do you have a dance team? Okay, yeah, but Lakefield, Lakefield gives you the opportunity to forget a little bit of your old self and try to explore a new one. Okay, so I will never do this. Okay, do it. Because that happened to me in grade 10. I was like, oh, I'll do it next year. I'll do it next year. And time flies. And I'm like, oh, I love it. I would have done it last year too, right? So try new things, explore new things. You never know what would you like. And forget about a little bit of that I miss home, because you are now in Lakefield and you have all of the opportunities that you're going to regret if you don't take them. So definitely that. And I always talk to, when I was grade 12, I always talk to the little grade 9s. They were like, no, but I don't want to do this. Oh, I'm scared to do that. Or I miss home. And then I talked to them when they were going to pass to grade 10. I'm like, oh my God, you were so right. I loved it. I'm like, I'm telling you. So definitely that. Just go for it.
Engage.
And I love that you mentioned Algonquin, because that was like the biggest fear for me. It was the first time I camped. So I was like, how am I gonna go and walk? And no. And I talked to many professors, like, do you really think I'm gonna do that? And they're like, yeah, you can do this. And I remember the first day I talked to my mom. I'm like, Mom, I don't know what I'm doing this. Like, the school's not forcing me, but kind of is, because they're telling me all the great experience I'm gonna get. They're like, okay, if you don't want to go, you don't have to, but you're gonna miss this, and that. So they're kind of forcing me. And wow, definitely one of the best experiences. The pictures I took, the views I saw. So definitely, I loved how the school just made me go for it, and said an advice I will give to new students.
We're glad you went for it. and for sharing those experiences. Oh, there's going to be just a little bit of a flip on that same question for you, Michael, Lisa, and Sean. And that is, what advice would you give to either new independent school families or even just new families to Lakefield? And I'll look, maybe Michael, I'll go to you first on this.
Okay. For families that are new and looking for a school, what we found most helpful is understanding what we wanted from a school and finding the right fit for our child or for our boys. Not choosing a school because of its prestige or the number of academics or the number of awards or friends who choose to go there, but finding the best fit for your child, and having that understanding as a family really helped shape our decision. Early on, before my wife and I had kids, we worked with a woman who sent her children to grade 13 only at Lakefield. So that's how long ago it was. And they only did their grad year at Lakefield after living internationally. And one was athletic, one was artistic, and one was very academic. And I remember Hillary telling us that all of her kids had their best years at Lakefield. And that's a pretty high bar to set for a school, given the different needs of all three kids being able to really enjoy that. And I think because we had an understanding of what we valued as a family and what we wanted for a school, that helped us land in a spot that we're really happy with. When Jimena was speaking, the message, Jimena, you gave, I've heard time and time again from parents and grads of LCS, and having had the opportunity to listen to the chapel speeches, you hear that time and time again. It's the message my 12th grader has passed on to his brother. Take advantage of everything that you have at this school, step out of your comfort zone and try something new, and you'll do it. And what it reminded me of is when our 9th grader Will started there, we didn't hear from him for a long time, like 2-3 weeks. He wasn't texting, he was too busy to call. And we finally had a talk with him, and he's like, are you okay? Is everything going well? And he's like, I'm just living the Lakefield life. And that was really heartening to know that he was that comfortable and at home, being that busy, just finding new things to love. And that's probably one of the messages he asked me to pass on was, at Lakefield, you'll always find your people. You'll find someone to do what you love to do, and find your people. That's how he phrased it. So I think finding a school that fits your kids is really the priority. And I'm pretty grateful that Lakefield fits my boys right now.
Well, thank you for saying that. I think back to a time when I was a head of house and looked after a group of boys. And I used to say to boarding parents too, I know you haven't heard from them, but no news can be great news. And it's just because they're so engaged and involved in so many different things that it can be hard for parents, because you want that connection. But that's also why we're here, because we can say, when was the last time you talked to your parents? It might be time to give them a ring, just so they know what you're up to. But and then we'll end with you, Cantillons. Any advice that you might have for new parents?
I would actually, as a parent, I would say get involved. It brings great joy, enthusiasm. You feel a part of this great community, even if you're abroad. Zoom has provided great opportunities. I've been on different committees. I am lucky that before COVID we could go on campus, but I would just say get involved. It is really powerful, and get so connected. And that, again, that deep global interconnectedness with the people that you can meet and you see, you might have met in grade 9, you don't get to meet them until grade 12, but you feel already connected to them. And it does, like Jimena said, it's like this friendship and homey feeling. So I'd say definitely get involved in any way you can. Bring your strengths forward.
And I would say a huge thank you to each of you, because it's all the people that, like, it's not just the school, it's everyone at the school, the parents and the students that help to create that community. It creates that welcoming feel and creates that appreciation of kindness and drive to be better, and more inclusive. And I think collectively we push ourselves outside our comfort zone, and that helps our students embrace that as well. So huge thank you to each of you for sharing your time today, sharing your experiences today during this conversation. I'm also going to take a quick moment to thank anyone that's viewing this recording. Hopefully you found it really informative. This was a great way to learn about the school. Obviously, the website's a great way to learn about the school, and we'd always love to hear from you. Easy way to contact the school is through our email, which is admissions, that's with an S, admissions@lcs.on.ca. You can always pick up the phone, and we'd love to hear from you as well. So with that, I'm going to extend a final and huge thank you. So much gratitude to each of you for joining us today and sharing your stories. It's been fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.